about 10 turns.
The water temperature has dropped, but only recently. And many years, this first week or two of ice fishing is the best of the winter.
I don't know if I... Oh, oh, right.
Almost.
Oh, my skunk is over. The winter has taken a turn for the better. Oh, Lordy.
Financially, we're a drop in the bucket to this big DNR. If we're going to be heard and be on an agenda, we have to have our commission back again. Fish and Game Commission with a Fish and Game Department.
Here we go. I should be able to bring him up if you can get him. Can you get him here? Got it? Oh, look at that! Oh, man. Congratulations!
Well, this was an incredible hour and a half. The setting reminded me of Michigan, except for the mountains and except for the phenomenal number of big king salmon that seemed to be terribly easy to catch.
You got one?
Yep.
Yeah?
Come on. Super! Oh. Come on! Yay! Outstanding!
Tip-up fishing and pan fishing through the ice. Sure, it's cold, but shared with friends, it can be a lot of fun. To thousands of people, this is what Tip-Up Town at Houghton Lake is all about.
There you go. Go for it. Okay! Oh, man! Who would have guessed? I had such a slow morning.
Manitoba fishing regulations on this lake allow you to take smaller fish to eat, one big trophy you can take home to mount, and the medium-sized ones all must go back. Pretty darn good system that seems to work.
Oh, I like that.
A second doe came out, this time from the north side of the field, closer to the decoy, and it worked itself downwind from the decoy where it could catch its scent.
Oh, this is hysterical.
Now it seems to be more concerned about where the decoy is looking, or appears to be looking. I mean, it's just a decoy. It's a hunk of plastic. But the real deer knows where the fake deer is supposed to be looking.
That's the neat thing about grayling. The fin there. Isn't that pretty? What a pretty fish. You try to be gentle with them.
This is the fish that Grayling, Michigan was named after. A fighter, good tasting in the pan, beautiful coloration with an unusual dorsal fin.
Here we are, the last day. I don't know how many more hours we can let pass, and I stay picky like this, but boy, I don't know.
I had a few seconds to make up my mind, and I did.
That's a big bruiser.
Bob Garner.
I'm at 20 yards.
Which way was the wind blowing?
Towards it?
Yeah,
From the ammonia?
yeah.
Could have been, but the wind has to be blowing there. There's a lot of lures and scents and things that get credit for deer coming in, and there's no way the deer even smelled them. So we don't know for sure. You'll never know.
Just a mystery at this point.
It is a mystery.
We've also put a bill in to say they must create and a minister for hunting and fishing, a czar, you might say, to handle those things, so people can look at that person to be their advocate within the department.
Well, while John worked that walleye, I worked the camera. Kind of fun to switch roles for a change.
Oh my God.
Yes!
You got it?
Woo-hoo! All right. You believe it?
Yes!
Oh. I think it's going to have to go back.
Well, I don't know. I'd have a hard time with that one, John.
Well, you got to do it. It's going back. There we go. Well, back to work.
Oh, yes. Oh, look at that. What is it?
Brown, looks like it.
Is that a brown? Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah.
Okay! Oh, what a thrill, what a thrill!
All right.
Yes! Oh, I'm pretty pleased with this. Yes, sirree. Well, John,
Should I throw it back, John? You want me to throw it
No, I
back?
think we better
It's
keep
about
this.
29.5 inches long. I think I should throw it back, huh?
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna lay down right under this branch right here. See? I'm gonna get right down here. Use this for a screen. Put my gun over the top of this branch. Screen myself a little bit. Oh, and if they pop up over the hill, it's gonna be exciting.
This is what's happened. Our staffs have been diluted and pulled away. Of course the DNR needs hunters and fishermen. They're using us, and we don't appreciate it.
That is.
Yeah, there's other ways.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, that was quite a battle.
yeah. My arm was good like
Now, is this the average size walleye here?
Yeah, Fred, that's a nice size one.
Well, we've hunted this field for 2.5 days, and most of the turkeys we've seen have walked right in front of those 2 small pines across the field. With only a few hours left, we decided I'd stay in camp and John would camouflage himself in one of those pines.
Not a bad little beard on it.
No, it's
the
real
first-
nice.
His first turkey. Boy, 3 days of hunting too, and I was really starting to worry. We have another 3 or 4 hours, and that's it.
You did really
Oh,
good.
Fred, this is a riot. You gotta let me do this more often.
Look, we'll pull the leaves back. See, it hasn't popped its head up yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that one would pop up, but we've got it now.
It's yours now.
Yep, now there are more. Oh, right there. Right over here. I shouldn't, I get so excited I lunge at him. But right here's one. And I thought there were a couple more up on here. Lost them for now. You know, the thing is, you don't have to be quiet. You don't have to sneak. But you sort of do.
Yanking the bucks from the mud is one thing, but once they get 1 or 2 legs free, drawing them next to the boat becomes a major ordeal. These deer aren't gentle, especially when they're afraid. Deer use their sharp hooves as weapons when they feel threatened, and one frantic blow could be lethal. Competition for fishing territory and a violation of distance, just getting too close, are 2 main reasons for bear fights at this time of year. And anytime 2 strange bears meet each other for the first time, a fight usually breaks out to establish dominance. Skagamog is famous for big muskies, but the rocky bottom and clear water is also ideal spawning habitat for smallmouth bass.
Just doesn't want to. Oh, this is a riot. That was about the 4th cast. He isn't done yet. There we go. The program in some areas is out of hand. They can't control it. And so this year, they're saying that there will be no permits issued without the inspection on that piece of property. And
Well, if
again,
they couldn't do it in the past few years, how are they going to do it this coming year?
I don't know. I'll be darned, that crankbait. That crank. Oh, look behind it. Look at behind it. Look at that. Oh, geez. Look at that. Look at that northern pike. Oh. Oh. Was that exciting? Oh, man.
Noontime is usually nap time, but who can sleep with hungry pike a few yards offshore and the smell of fresh walleye wafting in the breeze? Could hardly decide whether to fish or eat, but those fried potatoes were calling, and baked beans warmed in the can in a bed of coals from the open fire were too much to resist. Representative Bender's bill will end the widespread practice of selling cow or horse urine for $11 a bottle and leading hunters to believe it's some special kind of deer urine.
And then I just I don't like to see people get ripped off, and the more I got involved, it just appeared to me that there was a gigantic rip-off going on out there, and that it ought not to be that difficult to solve, to address that problem and come up with a solution that's workable, that would prevent people from getting ripped off.
Now here's 1 pound of powder with a 5-pound projectile. Watch this.
Okay, fire.
When the smoke cleared, the crowd could see the can. Here's a different camera angle.
Fire.
Now the fly on the water from underneath looks like the outline of a grasshopper that accidentally fell in. You can see the yellowish trout dart in and explode the water, sucking in the fly for what it thinks is a meal. But surprise.
Oh, man, I saw it coming. That was great. That was great.
The younger shoots, the tender green buds, these hold more nutrition. But this buck wants leaves that are almost out of reach. I've seen deer reach for apples and trees in the fall, but never do this in early summer when food appears to be abundant all around them. Lots of line peeled off the deck. We were fishing deeper than we ever had before.
And we got him aboard. How about that?
Look at that.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
This is the Winnipeg River, the stretch by Otter Falls, an hour and a half from downtown Winnipeg in Manitoba.
Okay. Yeah, that took it on the way. No, I'll just lower and lift this one.
That's a real nice.
Oh, well, it's catch and release anyway. Good frying size, huh?
Yeah, good frying size.
Boy, look at that, these jobs on the bait. Now, this one is different than the other ones, and it has a lot of moss and
Been laying
stuff on there.
You've been laying somewhere, yeah. Sometimes you get them to really covered inch and a half of moss on your back.
Look at this. I can back John right up into the weeds with this. Well. Okay. Oh my.
8-pounder.
I tell you, when they're hooked in the mouth right in that tough stuff. There we go.
Most of these fish were silvery or light pink, even though they were many miles from the ocean.
Well, he got that number from the certification report that is turned in by the Michigan DNR to the U.S. Fisheries and Wildlife. That report was signed by David Hales. We started backtracking after we received that report, and we went to the License and Control Division, and from there received their official report, which is their license sales. That came from Lauren Hersey, and the figures just didn't match up. They didn't match up at all.
That's a dandy lake trout.
As a part of the Indian fishing settlement, our DNR agreed to close sport fishing for lake trout in Lake Michigan and Huron on Labor Day. Half the charter boat catch has been lake trout, though, and their best chance for survival is if they're released while they're still in the water.
Okay, I got your teeth. Hang on. I don't want to bring them out of the water. Hold on. No, I got you. Don't worry.
Each gun is checked with a proof load as a stress test, and my gun is going to be put through a quick sighting in. The Savage Model 110 on bench tests has outshot some of the more expensive, prestigious rifles. Was the 1990 postcard survey sent to hunters who bought licenses in 1988? Judging by the questions on the survey, it looks likely. Did you hunt deer in Michigan during the 1990 firearm season? Did you buy a second buck license? Were you successful in the drawing for an antlerless deer license? A computerized licensing system would know the answers to these questions. At 7:15, 2 deer came in. One of them was a buck. I thought it was a spike buck. but I made a good shot. We tracked it last night. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, all right. Oh, my God. Oh, no kidding.
Oh, nice deer.
Oh, I thought it was a spike. It's a forkhorn.
Beautiful deer.
Oh, all right, Frankie.
Congratulations.
My man.
Congratulations.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Carl Hosford said 37,000 hours were spent observing deer last year. Well, divide a 40-hour work week into 37,000 hours. That's 925 weeks of deer observations. 51 DNR biologists and conservation officers would have to be assigned to do nothing but deer counts between July and October in order to total up 37,000 hours. That's about 4 employees per DNR district counting deer full-time. That's all the louder?
No, then I wait a couple minutes, then I'll, and shake the trees a little bit, and then I'll, for about 30 seconds.
Mike Henderson has a good success rate, but he works for it. Here's a 9-point he got a couple years ago, and here's his 13-point from the second day of last year's gun season. Larry and Shane Malski from Melvindale are enthusiastic duck hunters. In fact, the whole family hunts together. Their 2-year-old black lab, named Chance, is the most avid duck hunter of the group.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Here, hold it, here, right here, hold it, here. Yes, good girl.
Sue Malski is Larry's sister, and she's as good a duck hunter as you'll ever find.
Well, we got one.
Having 2 labs working with 4 hunters is a big help in combing the roosting cover where the birds are found at daybreak. Labradors don't point, but they do get excited when they smell a pheasant at close range.
Ho, hen!
Oh, there goes 2 more right there.
Whoa!
We got it.
God! A buck deposits a chemical signal or a message of some type on the licking branch above the trail. Then he paws the ground below, leaving a visual sign to other deer to check that branch that's above.
We've chased and we've dug and we've looked at reports, and I guess the analogy that I have to use is like if someone donated $20,000 to the Outdoors Club for snow removal, and that person was supposed to only do that work, was remove the snow off the driveway. And we put that person to work whenever we didn't have snow, if it was a mild winter, in the office doing a lot of other things. And that's what's happening. It's kind of a bookkeeping trick that's being played on us by the DNR. When they're supposed to be out doing deer range improvement work, they're not. They're doing other things somewhere else.
It's not a buck, right?
It does look like a buck.
It does?
It is a buck. It's a buck. It's a spike.
It's a spike?
Yep.
Let me.
It's a spike, dude. I saw him for sure. Isn't it?
Oh, I can't tell.
It's a spike.
At the last moment, both of us thought we saw legal spikes, although it wasn't until we got this tape back into the studio and froze the frame that we were sure that could have been my buck.
As soon as he saw me, I thought he'd run away, but he didn't. He come right at me.
That bear didn't look startled, which indicates that the bear probably saw Tom before Tom saw the bear. The surprised bear theory doesn't match this bear's reaction. But what about the cub theory? Was this a mother bear defending her cubs?
I had one walk in just at dark, shot it, run off into the swamp probably 50 yards. I'm sure I heard it go down.
All right, congratulations, Bob. Excellent.
Well, I think it's just a little bit bigger than that spike that you thought you had last night. Maybe that's why it's so heavy now.
Sometimes you luck out.
Yeah,
I guess.
That's great.
The way the environmental protection side has worked, when it works so poorly, it crowds everything else out. I mean, all the problems are there, all the media focus is there, all the attention's there, and what about hunting and fishing? Oh, leave that to the staff, leave that to somebody else, and we need to get the equilibrium back.
Yeah, when he first come out, I started shaking pretty bad, and I had to quit looking at his horns because it ruined everything. And I couldn't find my earplugs because it's pretty loud if you don't have them, so I I grabbed a couple extra bullets and stuffed them in my ears.
Are you kidding me? Seriously?
Yeah.
This is kind of a special buck to you, huh?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, because he was running, and my husband had said, well, pick out a spot and be ready and shoot. So I picked out a spot and shot.
And you got him. Well, you've had a lot of experiences in the woods. And you're looking forward to more? You gonna hunt next year?
I am.
Terrific. Next year, just do one thing.
Yeah.
Get one with some bigger antlers, okay?
I will. I'll have to go up the cabin, I guess, to find them.
Okay, good deal. Gladys Kaiser. Congratulations. Thank you, Gladys. That's great.